Before this video gets underway, I wanted to give a little bit of an update as to how things are potentially gonna go later tonight. The Vancouver Canucks are playing off against the Seattle Kraken. 7 p.m. start time, you know the drill, the game will likely be over around 9:30. The problem is, I have late night volleyball at the community center at 9 p.m. So, for me, it's either I end up leaving the post-game video to a lot later in the night at 1 or 2 a.m. when I inevitably come home after eating late-night dinner with my friends after volleyball, or I skip the opening parts of volleyball, end up arriving very late because I need to make the post-game video, and you know what? We're going to have to deal with this on Fridays. It's kind of the thing here. I will say, I think the plan is, instead of fully cutting off one or the other, I think we're just going to have to do a car vlog. Yeah, that's probably the move. A vlog on the phone after the Canucks play the Seattle Kraken. I'll have access to watching the game, don't worry. I have my mobile phone on me. I can watch the Canucks games whenever I want. But yeah, big disclaimer for the quality in tonight's show later on. It's probably going to be very messy, but either way, let's get on to the video here, because what I wanted to do was give a big shout out to our guy, iMac. Leave it to Ian McIntyre, man. I can't stop going out there and giving shout outs to Vancouver's triple threat journalist. He writes articles, he is on the radio, he is on the TV, he does everything, and yesterday he published a piece that I really wanted to dive into here today. Because not only is the inner Canucks fan in me absolutely going ballistic with this, but the inner Red Wings fan in me is also freaking out. Let's go out there and talk about Vancouver Canucks forward Daniel Sprong and this piece talking about how he's hoping to find a home with the Vancouver Canucks. Link will be in the description. We're going to use this article for the quotes within, because when it comes to Daniel Sprong as a Vancouver Canuck, this is, the fifth team off the top of my head that he's been a part of? Let's see. Pittsburgh, Anaheim, Washington, Seattle. It's the sixth team because he was on Detroit and then Vancouver. Yeah, okay. He has been a journeyman throughout his entire NHL career. Former second-round pick, a guy who ended up making the NHL right out of the draft, which is unheard of for a second-round guy. But Daniel Sprong is a guy who last season had 43 points in 76 games with the Red Wings. The year before that, he had 46 points in 66 games with the Seattle Kraken. He is a very good offensively minded winger. But the problem with Daniel Sprong, and the reason he had only signed a one-year, $975,000 contract with the Canucks, is because even though he's a goal-scoring forward who can produce points, when he's not producing points, he doesn't do anything else. The guy doesn't really move much when he doesn't have the puck, he does not play defense, and his overall game outside of the offensive zone really leaves a lot to be desired. And this has been a pattern that Sprong has gone through the past few years. It's the reputation he had built in Seattle and then in Detroit. Look, the guy had 40-something points with the Red Wings, but a lot of Wings fans were kind of like, okay, peace, buddy, bye, when he ended up leaving. It's not like too many Red Wings fans, a team that was on the cusp of making the playoffs and in a desperate spot to make the playoffs. It's not like many of them were disappointed that a 40-point guy ended up leaving their organization, which sounds crazy at first, but then you realize, oh yeah, it's Daniel Sprong. That's why they're not really all too disappointed that he ended up leaving. Meanwhile, though, in the Vancouver Canucks organization, he had signed a cheap deal with the management that he was a part of with the Pittsburgh Penguins and Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford, and he had scored that amazing goal at the end of regulation in the Calgary Flames Abbotsford game. And if you wanted to talk about some of the responses to that, this is where I wanted to revisit the Ian McIntyre article. Take a look at this right here. You saw the goal last night, Rick Tocchet said on Thursday after a pair of split squad practices at UBC. Daniel Sprong can do that. It's sometimes in between moments where he gets a little bit lost, but I'm excited to work with him. Put it that way. He wants to learn. He came in good shape, really good shape. He's been texting and asking for video. He wants to be a better player, and a complete player too. Like I said to you guys, 7 coaches and 7 teams. He's got to settle in and then really take this information. And can he be kind of a complete player? Both Sprong and the Canucks believe that he can be. This might be the turning point that a guy like Daniel Sprong needed. The fact that his new head coach in Rick Tocchet is so willing to say to the media, yeah, he scored a great goal, he'll do that, He'll score amazing goals in between moments where he does nothing, but he's got that talent, baby. And we're working with him. We're sending him video. He's eager and motivated to learn. He's picking up all these conversations. He's trying to internalize all these ideas. Might I even dare say that Rick Tocchet has the potential to fix Daniel Sprong? If Sprong plays with Elias Pettersson and Jake DeBrusk, I have no doubt that he's getting 15 to 20 goals on the year. 15 minimum, I'd say, if he plays the whole season with Petey and DeBrusk. But the thing is, Elias Pettersson is probably the first-line center, if not top 6 center. So Daniel Sprong being somewhere in the top 6, which is not really where he's used to playing, he was more a bottom 6 guy in Detroit. This might be the one spot where Rick Tocchet demands more out of Sprong than any of these coaches in the past have ever demanded out of him before. Hey, you're a top 6 guy. You cannot lackadaisically go around and not backcheck. You need to take your man. You need to put in the hustle when you don't have the puck. You can score beautiful goals. You can put points up on the board. You're playing with Pettersson. You're playing with DeBrusk, but we can't have you lollygagging. And for Spronger to be receptive to that idea, it's pretty good, I would say. Let's go back to the article and revisit an idea we actually did talk about in the summer when Sprong signed. Vancouver was Sprong's destination over a few other offers after the Red Wings let him walk following a 43-point season. Sprong made his decision after an honest phone call with Tocchet, who asked a player he knew from the Penguins organization why he kept changing teams and why coaches didn't trust him to play late in games. He's probably too hard on himself, but yeah, he owned it, Tocchet said. He's a good kid. A really good kid. He shared some stuff from some of the places he's been in, so I understand where he's coming from and what he wants. I was pretty honest with him. I said, I can just promise you that we're going to work with you, and we feel as a coaching staff that we can make you a better player and put you in spots where you can really show who you are. But it's going to take a lot of hard work. I sent him some video of things that he does really well and some things that are bad habits. We've got to find the middle. And you want to talk about that specific point, how coaches don't trust him late in games? That's exactly what the Canucks did in the game against the Flames. He was out there with a minute to go. He ended up scoring the game-tying goal with like 15 seconds to go. He picked the puck up with 20 seconds to go. He didn't pass it. He just went through everybody and he scored. Daniel Sprong can do that. We had a really good talk the evening that he called me, Sprong told Sportsnet. We talked about, hockey in general, and then pretty much about my situation. I told him some stories that coaches have told me that didn't really make sense. Things that happened. I think that stays between me and him, but the decision to come here was after that talk. The opportunity that I got told about on the phone and the situation where I could be playing, that really excited me. But like I said, that conversation I had with Tocchet on the phone really was the deciding factor at the end. After that call, I had a couple more calls with other teams, but I had already made up my mind pretty much. I knew this was the place. I think the deal was done 24 hours later. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as to whether or not the Vancouver Canucks and Rick Tocchet will fix Daniel Sprong, and if you think it's possible that this season he has with the Canucks will be the best season he ever has, in terms of a production standpoint and in terms of a usage standpoint. Do you think Daniel Sprong can be one of the best underrated free agent pickups with a $975,000 price tag we have seen in the NHL? I honestly think it's possible. Like, if he has a huge coming out party where he works his behind off, he backchecks, he defends well, and he produces points. If he's got that in him, which I do believe it probably is buried somewhere, then who knows where the Canucks will go with this. This might be the best contract in the NHL. If he's able to be a 50 or 60 point guy while making only $975,000, Rick Tocchet knows how to make these kind of mid-defensive forwards try to defend, at least. We had seen that with Andrei Kuzmenko last year. The guy had himself a pretty whack defensive capability, but under Rick Tocchet, he put in effort. He tried. And it didn't really work, but it was still there, the effort. And I think for Daniel Sprong, if there is a similar sort of drive within him, and it pays off in spades with late-game opportunities, taking over shifts, scoring big goals at big moments like he had done against the Calgary Flames, then this guy might just be one of the best value pickups the Canucks have had in a long time. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Vrishashros 99, and bye.